I have Stewart Redman, who's going to do the poster highlights for us. Thank you, Stewart.
Thank you. I'm Stewart Redman. I'm a radiologist from Bath, and thank you for asking me to do the poster highlights. I've done this a number of times now, and I really do think that by next year we're going to find some new poster highlights person to give it a fresh spin. But anyway, bear with me. I've got no declarations. So as has been said, we've got 114 posters. They're from all over the world. They're from different staff groups. So there's something out there for everyone. I've said before, at the end of the meeting when I'm doing the highlights, it's like a tasting menu of the posters, and this is at the beginning and it's a bit shorter, so this is more like the nibbles that you get while you're looking at the menu, which is always a fun time of a restaurant visit for me. So we'll start with some good old-fashioned nuclear medicine, and this is an unusual case of a lymphatic-looking malformation in a right groin, and the question is this from the right leg drainage pathway or the right labial drainage pathway? If this is removed, will there be lymphedema? And they've used a multidisciplinary approach and some good old-fashioned nuclear medicine, which is the only way to really solve this. And the answer was, I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to go and see the poster. There's a little teaser there. So PET-CT in osteomyelitis is an interesting study of the cases coming through the local unit here in Belfast. And certainly it chimes with what we're seeing in our service in Bath, which is a big increase in the non-oncology PET-CT indications. And we're doing a lot of infection imaging now. And it's a good opportunity for me to say thank you to the Belfast team for hosting us and your input into the meeting and the posters and talks that your teams are giving. So thank you. So, document management system, not the craziest end of what we do, however, very necessary to get this right. And there's an interesting poster here from the Marsden. It discusses good documentation principles and how they applied those principles at the Marsden, and the benefits, which is an important thing, which is why we want to work on this. They develop user-friendly procedures, effective processes, reduced waste, met legal requirements, and improved patient care. So this is an important part of what we do, and I would say there's another poster also from the Christie using a QA checking system across their multiple departments, and I encourage you to look at that one as well. We're in the BNMS working with UCAS on the MPACE standards, and there's meetings that Gillian and I have been attending over the last few years, and that I hope will be coming to departments around the country as a good framework to help you to get this right. So as the previous speakers have said, AI is coming to all parts of the patient pathway, not just from my report. From my point of view from imaging, it'll be in all areas of what we do. And this is a poster looking at numerous PDF chatbots and how they summarize the 2022-23 CQC annual IRMA report, which is a chunky read if you've ever tried to get into that. And so having a summary of that seems like a great idea. They found that the chatbots identified a moderate number of relevant facts, 14 to 36%. Yeah, I'd like my summary to have a few more relevant facts than that, to be fair, and only a few errors, 10%. I don't really want wrong stuff in there. That's complete nonsense. So they said the effective use of these kind of tools need quite a lot of honing of the question and careful reviewing of the outputs. And the summary from all the honing and all of the reviewing of the outputs was it doesn't currently save time in this scenario. So not quite there yet in this indication. So this is a cautionary tale, and it covers the factors leading to a sudden collapse of the radiopharmacy in Torbay. It explains the complex temporary solution that they came up with. The estimated cost to reinstate the nuclear medicine service was £1 million, which is slightly eye-watering when you look through the steps that they had to go through. And part of their summary is planned maintenance is less costly than crisis recovery. And I think this isn't just a local story. Lots of radiopharmacies, we saw the Belfast radiopharmacy, which looks all very nice, but it's, as you say, it's a small building with other bolted on bits of building, and lots of radiopharmacy services have been underinvested over the years, and the MHRA have been carrying out some pretty stringent inspections, has led to difficulties across the whole country, really. And I know Gilly's been doing some work with the MHRA, and we're trying to influence nationally to try and help the radiopharmacy situation going forward. So this is a poster involving teams from Holland, South Africa, Ghana, working together to solve the problems of administering lutetium and PSMA therapy in a resource-poor environment, which is a great bit of international teamwork. And it just reminds me to thank all our international contributors. So we've got teams from Oman, Thailand, all over the world. And so thank you all for coming and bringing your work. So left ventricular assist devices. I don't know if I can use my pointer here. You can see here's a picture of the heart, and you drill in to the bottom of the heart in the left ventricle and up into the aorta, and you use a pump to assist the heart pumping blood when you've got cardiac failure. And these devices are going to be used more and more, I think, and you might start cropping up in your local imaging. And they're used for temporary support. So if the heart's got inflammation or myocarditis, you can use it as a bridge to transplant or in the palliative setting. They note that half of these devices will develop infection by 2 years, which seems pretty high to me, and it seems like they're going to need imaging. And they give a good library of images there of the different patterns of tracer uptake. And one thing I like about this poster, lots of pictures. I've always been a bit more asterix than War and Peace, and so I do like a good number of pictures. So thank you for that. That's from Newcastle. A bit of old-fashioned nuclear medicine again. So this is looking at gastric emptying studies and actually looking to divide the tracer uptake in the proximal and distal parts of the heart, the stomach. A loss of kind of expansion when you eat of the proximal part of the stomach can lead to rapid gastric emptying. So they found by dividing it and looking into that, they got decent additional information. And this is a nice reminder about the BNMS gastric emptying guidelines, which I think were published last year or maybe the end of the year before, which we've partially adopted in Bath and found very useful. So the guidelines outline 2 different approaches. There's a modification of the SNMMI kind of scrambled egg meal that a lot of departments use, and Alp's team in Birmingham have kind of upgraded that, and if you're still using that, then it's worth a look. Or there's the Nottingham test meal, which we've moved to, which doesn't involve the scrambled eggs. I've always had a bit of an issue with taking a patient who already feels sick and delivering them some ropey scrambled egg, telling them it's radioactive and it's been knocked up in the microwave in the nuclear medicine department. I mean, that's a tough ask. So we've moved to the 40 sips model. It just seems better to me. So here's a paper from Oman that's, I think, really well put together, looking at PSMA in glioma imaging. So this is brain tumours, and it shows a really nice tumour to background ratio. So these things really shine out, and it looks like a very useful imaging tool, particularly in detecting residual tumour post-operation, which can be tough on MRI. And it's a good reminder that prostate-specific membrane antigen is not prostate-specific. Inclusive pregnancy checking. So this has been a difficult topic for staff and patients, and is a difficult thing to get right. There are 2 posters here describing the process the teams from Swansea and Glasgow went through to update their procedures, and it outlines their new procedures and how these have been received. And these are both kind of evolutions or based on the Society of Radiographers 2021 guidance on this. And Gilly, I know, has been working on a BNMS guideline, similarly building on that, which will be worth a look at. And if you're involved in this type of thing, I would say have a look at these posters, and you can get 2 nice, slightly different views on it, on how to do it well, which I think they are. So this is a classic clinical science poster, and I do love working with our physics teams, and I do love a classic physics poster. So in this one, they've outlined the clinical scenario, which I understand. They've explained the concepts around scatter correction, which I vaguely understand what they're talking about. Then they start talking about formulae, and they've broadly lost me. And then they give a plain English summary for idiots like me, which is great. And the summary basically says, if it doesn't look right, you're not sure what's going on, ask a physicist, which I've based my whole career on. It's brilliant. And it's interspersed with Sherlock Holmes quotes, which I enjoy. And I often I'll be in a meeting or we'll be discussing a patient, I'm talking to the physicist, and I say, can you give me a rough estimate of what you think that is? And they start to get really uncomfortable. And I'm like, just back of a fag packet guesstimate, what do you think? And they are like, I need to work it out properly. I won't give you an answer until I know it to 2 decimal places. And so this quote from Sherlock Holmes, I think I should stick up on the wall behind them. Sherlock Holmes says, I don't guess, I observe, and once I've observed, I deduce. I think they should just point to that and tell me to go away and come back when they've got the answer. So automated PET-CT injection systems. There's 2 nice posters here on these. They show good evidence of significant finger dose reductions, so 90% on one and 100% on the other following the introduction of these systems. They list the pros and cons of the system from their experience, and I think given the widespread classified worker status, if you or your team's doses are or could be getting high to the fingers, I would suggest reading these. It's a good thing to think about. And these kind of things and discussions around this come up at our local RPC and in conversations that we have with the HSE, so it's an important topic. I would also say that both of these teams are benefiting from work that our industrial partners have done to produce decent equipment for us to use. And it's a benefit to us that we've got such great presence of industry here, and it's a benefit to them to have us here as the kind of teams that will be using their kit. And keeping the communication between us and industry is vital for us to be able to provide decent kind of care going forward. So try and find time in the conference at some point to talk to our industry partners and have those conversations about, you know, what's working, what isn't working, and what you might need in the future. So this poster is about issues encountered starting a lutetium PSMA therapy service in the Republic of Ireland, and welcome to our colleagues from the south. I'm sure there's lots of you here. And as John said at the beginning, you know, MRT is massively growing, and it's coming to a department near you. So they've outline some of the steps and issues that they've had to go through to start this service. So I would think about having a look at that. Here's a nice poster from Birmingham looking at a survey of perceptions of skin dose across all of our craft groups, and there's no significant difference in the levels of anxiety about radiation skin dose contamination or the perceived risks of erythema, stochastic effects or time off work across all those staff groups. And all those staff groups did overestimate those risks, so it's good to kind of really pare down what the actual risks are. Yeah, and interesting, if they had time off work, most staff wanted to return to work ASAP, which is encouraging, that people wouldn't just dose themselves with something just to get off work. I would say that paper is authored by Bill Thompson. He was mentioned earlier as a great example of a career well done and growing old disgracefully. I was dancing with him at 11 o'clock last night in the Dirty Onion. Yeah, no, we had a great time. So that's all of my brief summary. Thanks again to all the poster authors. Thanks to the poster judges who will be stepping forward and looking at these things. There's plenty of prize-winning contenders. Apologies, I can't show them all, but there's plenty of gems waiting for you.